Hello everybody, this is the Wikstrand. So, death sequences, eh? Now, sometimes you get these sequences that doesn't really work. That looks a bit, out of place, or it looks, unrealistic, or it looks stupid or something like that. Well, the two worst things I have ever seen when it comes to death sequences is the 1975 movie Deadline, a Swedish pandemic thriller of some kind where an old man is walking towards, a guy with a gun and he's ordered to shoot him. The guy shoots the old man, who then starting to very, very slowly lie down like he was going to take a nap. Now, my theory is that he did this because he didn't want to hurt himself, but on the other hand, you're supposed to be, dying from being shot 2 times by a rifle. The movie that we're going to take a look at today, Black God, White Devil, had a similar thing, but it is the opposite of it. So we have a guy who is being shot, and what does he do when he's getting shot? Well, he does something that looks a little bit like this. He puts up his arms and he spins around, in place, and then he just, falls down, boom, like a tree trunk, and yelling something about, all power to the people or something like that. It was so ridiculous. It looks like he was trying to become Wonder Woman or something like that. And I started laughing. That is not the worst thing about this movie. No, no, no. Let's find out more. If you want to know more, you don't need to know anything more than that. This is Black God, White Devil. So Manuel and Rosa, they are peasants who are very strapped for cash, and they take some of their cows to sell them at the market so that they will at least survive until next year. But some of the cows get snake bit and die on the way to the market, and the evil hacienda owner tells him that well, this is not my problem. You're gonna have to pay for these cows that died, because I'm not going to take any responsibility for this. Then Manuel, I think, shoots him. That's one of the biggest problems with this movie. It's very vague on what people actually does in this movie. So I think he either kills him right there or he killed him later. Anyway, somebody has been killed by somebody, and that somebody appears to be Manuel. So now they're gonna have to flee the authorities. So they find this religious zealot in the Badlands who tells his followers that the sea will be land and the land will be sea, and we have a fantastic paradise awaits them, and lots of people follows them, and lots of peasants and lots of poor people. And the Catholic Church essentially says that, well, we can't have this guy stealing our devotees and stuff like that. So they give this reluctant guns for hire type of a guy and mission. You're going to kill this guy, and we're gonna pay you a bunch of money. He's reluctant to do so, but sets out to do that anyway. For Manuel and Rosa, this, religious fanatism thing isn't really working, despite butchering babies and stuff like that. Anyway, then I think that the army comes up and shoots everybody. I think. It is shot in such a weird way and such a confusing way that you could interpret that as just about whatever you want to, but for some reason, Rosa and Manuel are still alive. It's basically and everybody died, except for me, from Weird Al Yankovic. So they set upon to find yet another, strong leader to attach themselves to, and they come across this Marxistic bandit who is, on the run from the authorities, and promise them that he's going to, create some kind of a Marxistic paradise or whatever he wants to do. Good luck with that one, by the way. And I guess now that the religious leader is dead, the reluctant guns for hire has had a new target, the Marxistic bandit. And what happens after that is a bunch of boring sequences that goes nowhere, and then we have the incredibly silly death sequence, and then we have an arguably quite fun tracking shot when the characters are running for some reason, and then the movie is over. So this movie apparently is considered some kind of a classic and has been voted the second greatest Brazilian movie of all time back in 2015, and I can't understand it. This is one of the most pretentious, boring and ill-conceived movies that I have seen when it comes to, you know, how to make movies, because I don't understand what's going on here. There's probably, you know, some armchair critics who will tell you that, well, you know, this means that and that means this, and, you know, you don't understand the underlying message or whatever it is. I just found the movie to be incredibly boring, and the movie felt a bit half-assed. The movie never worked, and I never really cared about any of the characters, and I never really, you know, understood what the point of this thing was. And I hated the soundtrack, and I absolutely hated, you know, these pretentious songs that, you know, showed up from all over the place to tell you what the plot was and the importance of certain things that was happening. It was one of these things that I kind of understand what they are trying to do. They just are unable to do so. The characters aren't very interesting, as I said, and the acting is fine, I guess. And if you just make this, you know, black and white movie with these stark images and, you know, religious imagery and, you know, pretend that you have a strong message, you can probably hoodwink a bunch of people into thinking that it is a, you know, masterpiece or something like that. But it does not work on me. It's gonna take something more than that. You're going to have to go a bit silly or insane or over the top like a Fistful of Dynamite, or you're going to have to be completely insane like an El Topo. If you would do something like that, then this movie could have at least functioned in some way. This is just pretentious garbage. It's not for me, but on the other hand, I cannot understand why people actually like this movie. But I just couldn't get into it, and it was simply too aloof and too vague for me to really understand how it worked. So this movie kind of flips between a western, a crime movie, a drama, a psychological thriller or whatever it is, but it doesn't work. I give this movie 20 points. I do this mostly because that there is an interesting atmosphere in this movie, and there are interesting ideas that almost kind of worked but didn't. So if you have any chance, don't see this movie. If you want to see, you know, an odd western or a movie about the revolutions and stuff like that, the aforementioned El Topo and Fistful of Dynamite recommended, even though a Fistful of Dynamite is basically just a spaghetti westerns with some added political discussions to it. But at least it was a lot better than this movie was, because this was just so boring, it was so slow moving, and I really couldn't get into it. So have you seen Black God, White Devil? And do you think I was unfair to it, or what have I missed? Comment below, and I'll see you next time from, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.